class.
Okay, we're gonna pick up from where we was last time. Um, Thank you for coming up here. Um, let's go ahead and get the rest of this. Well, not the rest of it. We got a few more parts, and I know sometimes it seems like these classes are long, or these lessons be, it's so many components, but it's so much stuff that needs to be seen and heard. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes we'll have short classes. Sometimes it's gonna take a little minute, but if you go through each one of the steps, each one of the lessons, it's going to help you in the long run with your understanding. And that's what we're after. So let's get it. Let's ride. So it's history time. Let's look at some shadow pictures. David's early reign did begin with a split. After Saul died, Judah crowned David in Hebron. The rest of Israel followed Ishboeth, Saul's son, and Mahanaim. This created a two-house situation. So we're trying to show you how the shadow picture, or where this first, well, we could even go further than that with the first split. We could go all the way back to when Jacob was getting ready to go see his brother Esau. What did he do? He split up the family into two factions. But we're going to use this example because it's a little bit more clearer. So this two-house situation. House of Judah, which was David, house of Israel, which was Ishbosheth. This lasted for 7.5 years. It was political, territorial, tribal, right, and covenant shaped. This is the first appearance of the two house pattern. But again, I said you could use the same example when Jacob went to go meet Esau, how he split his family into two. So, pattern two, Rehoboam's reign. Judah was Rehoboam, Israel was Jeroboam. Two houses again, permanent division. No unity until Mashiach. The first split, David is the shadow. The second split, Rehoboam is the substance. David's early split between Judah and Israel is the prophetic shadow of the permanent split under Solomon's son. The two sticks represent Judah and Ephraim, or Israel, house of Israel, the northern tribe, divided in history, reunited only by Mashiach at the end of days. The two sticks equal the two houses. Is told to take one stick labeled Judah, one stick labeled Joseph or Ephraim. So stick one, Judah, the southern kingdom, Davidic line, Jerusalem, temple, Levites, visible preserved identity. Right, that was one house. So let's look at Ephraim. Stick two, Joseph and Ephraim, northern kingdom, 10 tribes, Samaria, scattered, lost identity, mixed amongst the nations. Ephraim's stick is lost. Judah's stick is preserved. Because again, when the 10 tribes left, they was gone. You had factions or small pockets that came back. I guess the Ruach draw them to come and get immersed and start to learn the edutes or the instructions of Yahuwah all over again. Because again, they was scattered for, wow, over 1,000 years maybe. And so now, some of them come back, but not all of them. So, in the time of Mashiach, Judah preserved identity, preserved lineage in his consciousness, because guess what? After the Babylonian captivity, not all of them came back either, but a great number of them did, but a small fraction compared to what was taken out. But they still built a temple the best they could, It wasn't beautiful like it was at first at Solomon's temple. The people was weeping, they was crying, but they still preserved the Torah tradition. They still kept the commandments. They never forgot those. Some of them anyway. Preserved scribal culture, and we know the Ruach was driving them to come back, Nehemiah. Preserved priesthood memory. So they had all this. But many today lay claim to the name of Israel. But the evidence ahead makes plain that complexion decides nothing. Take the Nigerians of Houston. Within communities, they establish themselves. So they have their own communities, they have their own restaurants, they have their own business. Most of them are professional. I mean, they fall right into place in America with no problems, right? They flourish. Proof that the question is not one of being black, but of curses. That's what we got to understand. It has nothing to do with your skin. This is what they've told you. Because I'm black, because I'm black. No, it's not because you're black. It's because of the curses, right? Your lineage and your inheritance. And they know that this is coming to you. All you have to do is open your eyes. All you have to do is be humble and listen to someone that has sense, that knows this book, that's trying to guide you. What holds Judah back now is a refusal to accept their own identity, to relieve the pain caused by disobedience. Not because I'm black, though to those with discernment, we recognize them without difficulty. So we know who we are. Mostly blind with no light, but a remnant understand, and we are not lost. And so that's why we up here doing these classes, right? We all have a part to play. The thing is getting this gospel out, bringing in the lost sheep back to the fold. Now, Ephraim, scattered, absorbed, swallowed up, lost to themselves, right? Lost to the world, preserved only by Elohim. This is why Ezekiel sees two sticks, not one. The division is real, historical, and prophetic, right? And we know that they're lost to the world, but they're not lost to us that have understanding. Because again, we're going to show you different instances. They're around. We just got to understand, again, these curses, and we got to understand the situation. That's why it takes so long to do these classes, because we want to make sure that somebody had never even heard this before gets a good understanding, a good springboard where they can jump off and before they hit that water. You know what I'm saying? They jumping high enough so they can get all the understanding that they need. So even now, Ephraim remains bound by inherited idols and long-standing customs. Yet change is stirring. Knowledge of Yahweh will continue to spread, while the cultures that blinded them for centuries are steadily being left behind. Firm conviction is required here. Yahweh preserved a remnant that is kept by him. He knows who are his, whether it's both houses and the nations, right? If it's both houses, he knows who belongs to him. If it's the nations, he knows who belongs to him. For many are called and few chosen. No house or stranger stands exempt from what lies ahead, be it dying in the Shiach or enduring the fire of the wilderness. We must get past the dumbing down of the elites that keep us separated with something as trivial as color. Remember, love your neighbor because it could just be your brother. Keep in mind, Ezekiel 37 is tied to resurrection, restoration, cleansing, covenant renewal, Mashiach's reign, the final ingathering. This is end time mechanics. This is this is the order that it has to be played out in. So again, this is why we search the prophets before we start dealing with the New Testament. So Ezekiel 37 matches Romans 11 perfectly. Paul describes natural branches, which is Judah, broken branches, unbelieving Judah, right? Because they had a hard time believing the Mashiach. Wild branches were the Gentiles or the proselytes, lost branches, which is Ephraim, who is scattered amongst the Gentiles, and says all Israel shall be saved. And a lot of people take this, well, see, no matter what, No matter what Israel does, they're going to be saved. That's not fact. That's not covenant mechanics. Meaning covenant Judah plus Ephraim plus grafted covenant nations. That's what that is. But you have to be in a covenant. This nothing to do just because you Israel. We know that because we've seen different instances out in the wilderness. When the people bucked against Moses and Aaron, what happened? Were they spared? Did they come back to life? No. So let's keep it moving. So one king high priest is what we're looking for. One olive tree, right? Because the tree's supposed to be put back together in one covenant family. That's what he's after. Because if we search Ezekiel more, we'll see that the nations are going to be absorbed and everybody's going to be Israel. But the first step of that is finding out what the covenant is, getting into the covenant, and getting it. That covenant's going to allow you to get up under the blood of Mashiach. So, as earlier lessons such as think not, if you want to understand, have demonstrated. So go look at this lesson if you haven't looked at it yet. The assurance we imagine belongs to us by virtue of being a particular people or ethnicity counts for nothing when the question is which fruit the Father selects from his garden. Only the ripest are gathered, and those alone are replanted in the kingdom. So all Israel equals all of Israel and the nations that are in covenant. Period. There's no other way around that. So now let's look at this. Who is Ephraim? This is part 4. Who is Ephraim? Joseph becomes a speckled bird, the exile, the lost tribes, the prodigal son, the return, right? Once we understand the reunification under Hamashiach, it helps snap it all into place. Right? Jeremiah 16:15 through 21 shows us the rest, one of the many places that show restoration. But we're going to look at this. Speckled bird equals mixed, not pure. Jeremiah 12:9 says, my heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. A speckled bird is mixed, not one color, not pure, not identifiable, not belonging to any flock. This is prophetic imagery for Israel becoming mixed among the nations. Joseph becomes the nations, Hosea 7. Ephraim has mixed himself amongst the people, or amongst the nations, Hosea 8. Israel is swallowed up, now they are among the nations. Hosea 9. They shall be wanderers among the nations, unclean, idol-ridden, indistinguishable. Gentile lifestyle, Gentile worship, Gentile identity. Joseph again has become the nations. So it's right here in the scripture. We have some that's, well, I can't see that. They got to listen, man. If the prophets is telling you that they are mixed, I mean, what is mixed? I can take some cake mix and I can take some milk. If by themselves, they're one thing, but when I mix them together, they become something totally different. Right? And he's telling you that they're unclean, they're idol ridden. This is their spiritual condition, indistinguishable. This is what the prophet is saying. So we just have to accept the facts. We're not trying to make anybody feel good. We're just trying to give you truth. So a cake half turn is many colors. Now, let's look at this because this was at the blessing with Ephraim and Manasseh. And he would not, but said, I know it. Son, I know it. He shall be a people and he shall be exalted, but his younger brother shall be greater. Then he and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. Right? So we're going to also look at Jeremiah 30:17 through 18 for restoration. Now, Genesis 48:16. Excuse me. The angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, and let my name be named on them in the name of my fathers. Excuse me. The name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. So Genesis 48:16, grow equals H17:11. Gaga, increase, multiply, or the word multitude, right? Genesis 1:26 gives us H17:10, fish, Gaga also. So let them grow as fish, or the multitude. So we see all through the scriptures, well, all through the gospels and the letters, that every time when this word multitude is mixed, that's like a code word for Ephraim, because the multitude sat at his feet. He spoke to the multitude because again, he was after these fish, right? The ones that grew, that became schools, and many of them. So, Matthew 4, as Yahshua was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. Come, follow me, Yahshua said, and I will send you out to fish for people. At once they left their nets and followed him. Jeremiah 41. This is what Yahweh says. Keep your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for the reward for your work will come. And we need to keep the same thing in mind, declares Yahweh. Then your children will return from the land of the enemy. So there is hope for your future, declares Yahweh, and your children will return to their own land. I have surely heard Ephraim's moaning. You discipline me severely, like an untrained calf. Restore me that I may return, for you are Yahuwah my Elohim. And so Ephraim is saying, we got chastised severely, but then look what they was doing, right? All unclean, right? All eating unclean, living unclean, thinking unclean, forgot about Yahuwah completely as they was absorbed, right? And at one time, remember in the wilderness, they had the one calf. And then they came back and put up two calves. And then they came up with their own priesthood. So this is what happened. But at the same time, Yah's reminding them, for the reward for your work will come. So just be steadfast. All of us need to think this way. Because we got a lot of bad, tough times coming ahead of us. You're going to have to be steadfast. But it's all a test, right? This is just the beginning of sorrows. Jeremiah 16, both houses returning. Yahoo also said, listen, a better time will come. When people make a promise, they will not say, I promise to do this as surely as Yahuwah lives, who brought the Israelites safety out of Egypt. Instead, they will say, I promise to do this as surely as Yahuwah lives, who brought the Israelites safely back from the land in the north. He brought them back from all the places that he had sent them to as prisoners. Yes, at that time I will bring them back to this land that I gave to their ancestors. But now I will send enemies to catch these people. Now, see, so he's saying, I will bring them back, not somebody else, right? He's going to do this. The Father's going to make this happen through Hamashiach. But now I will send enemies to catch these people. They will catch them like fishermen catch fish. They will chase after them like hunters who catch wild animals. They will find them everywhere in the mountains, in the hills, and in the holes and in the rocks. And so we can look for this in the future as well. I am watching them carefully all the time. They cannot hide from me. I can see all their sin, right? All their lawlessness. I will punish them for their lawlessness. I will make them pay twice for the wrong things that they have done. And we see this to this day. You'll hear Israel always say something like, well, if I was white, I would have got away. I wouldn't be, this wouldn't be happening right now. Okay, but he already told you you're gonna get punished for twice. The nations that has nothing to do with them because he's not in covenant with them. He's in covenant with us. That is because they have spoiled my land. They have made it unclean with their disgusting idols that have no life. They have filled my special land with the evil things that they have done. So, no, we can't get away with anything, and we won't. And when the punishment comes down, you can say, again, you can go back to the color mindset. But that's not going to help you. Again, it has nothing to do with color. Color was invented. Nothing to do with color at all. It has to do with who you are. So, Jeremiah 16, O sovereign, my strength and my fortress, and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, Surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. We see that today. Shall a man make gods unto himself, and they are no gods? Therefore, behold, I will this once cause them to know. I will cause them to know mine hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is Yahweh. So again, he's saying, I will cause them to know me. I will cause them to know my power, my hand and my might. He will do this, not CNN. So Jeremiah 16 is about covenant restoration, not modern politics. See, the prophecy is about Judah, southern kingdom. Joseph, Ephraim, the northern kingdom. Gentiles joining the covenant. Elohim revealing his hand again. The whole house of Israel returning, not just bits and little fractions of them. Them equals both houses. Verse 15, regathering. I will bring them again into their land. Verse 16, fishermen or fishers and hunters. This is Elohim pursuing the lost Israel, right? He's pursuing them. And then, like I said, in the future, you're going to see this. Because when it comes time to go to the wilderness to see if you are worthy of the kingdom, man, these people going to get a blessing for capturing you. Because I know a lot of y'all ain't going to want to leave here. And I'm talking about both houses. I got, I mean, I got this good job. Well, we might ain't be able to say that no more because the way it's looking like it ain't gonna be no job. The way it's looking like it ain't gonna be no houses or nothing, nowhere to stay. This thing gonna be tough. But a lot of people, no matter what condition they're in, they still will not. These Hebrews will not want to go out to the wilderness. But you going? That's a fact. You leaving. So it has nothing to do with the UN votes, right? 1948 when Israel was supposed to become a nation. Y'all didn't do this. Modern ethnic groups, modern political states like the state of Israel, banking families, European nations, JVAN, right, where you get the Khazars or Khazarians, Zionism. Jeremiah is speaking covenant language, not political language. That's all it is to it. So So let's look at uh, Jeremiah 16 and 21. I will this once cause them to know, I will cause them to know my hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is Yahweh. So, verse 15, I will bring them again to their own land. Well, uh, does this make any sense right here? We know that the Balfour Declaration was drawn up, and we also know that the United States had their hand in this, right? Its name is Israel. U.S. recognizes Jewish state, right? Zionists proclaim new state of Israel. Truman recognizes it and hopes for peace. So they're all in on this. These are the people that had, and the bankers that had their hand in these people coming back. It had nothing to do with Yahuwah. And then the other question is, where is Ephraim? They all said that they're Judah. Okay, well, where's Ephraim? They're supposed to be there as well. But we see that they're not. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nation and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The envy of not, did you see that? And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, so that the nations understand who these people are, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, that's Ephraim, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. We don't see that in Israel right now. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. So it won't be no more fighting and all this type of stuff. It's supposed to be peaceful. Lion's supposed to be laying down with the lamb. I mean, all these different things. Mashiach's kingdom supposed to be here. They still talking about building the temple. Where's the throne? Where's the throne of David? So they can't be back. This is why we have to search the prophets constantly, because that's going to give us our information. So when we come to the new part of the book, or we come to the new covenant writings, we understand exactly what's going on. I say this all the time because it's fact and it's something that has to be drilled in our heads because we've been trained that we don't need the Old Testament. That's done away with. That's under the old law. That old law, but it's dealing with administrations. In other words, offices. Moshe had an office, and so Yahushua has an office. Two different things, but the same teaching. Ephraim has been scattered for 2,700 years. Ephraim's timeline 722 BCE, Assyria scatters the northern kingdom. They are taken into Mesopotamia, Media, Persia, later absorbed into the Greeks, the Romans, Arabs, Turks, Africans, Europeans, Asians, Silk Road populations, Mediterranean people. Now, if we look at this, and they scattered and they just took so many of them and put them over here. So many of them put them in Mesopotamia, some put them in Media, and some put them in Persia, and then even broke down into smaller factions and put amongst the Greeks, the Romans, the Arabs, the Turks. And we see this in history. You'll see some things like the Black Kings over this of Italy or the Black people, Spartans of Greek, Greece, and because they were scattered. But over centuries, and you just in the same place with the same people, you're going to be absorbed. There's no way you can stay the same. There's no way you can stay looking the same. But again, we've been trained into this color thing. It never was about that, right? North African tribes, Middle Eastern tribes, and some of us would stay looking the same, but a lot of us would not. It's impossible to do that. It's impossible to do that. All it takes is about maybe what, 5, 6 generations, and you gone. But the son, the man carries the seed, whereas with the little hats, the mother carries the blessings and the seeds, and it's crazy, but it is what it is. Those Central Asian tribes. So again, when you see these videos saying that there was black folks here, black folks there, that's fine. But at the same time, there's no way that you can stay like that. There's no way. It's impossible. But again, it's just depends on what our mindset is. But we have to face facts. Yah's behind all this. He knows exactly what he's doing. If he says mix, then it's mixed. If he says unrecognizable, then it's unrecognizable. I mean, I'm not gonna fight it, but a lot of people got a problem with this. And it's just reverse psychology that's been put on them or reverse racism. And again, that comes from lack of understanding that your Elohim is behind this. The people that have you captive, the book says they just further their affliction. They're gonna deal with them, they're gonna get dealt with for that too. But the fact remains, your Elohim is behind this. How can you fight it? 2,700 years of mixing to 2026, dozens of empires, hundreds of migrations, thousands of intermarriages. There is no historical mechanism by which Ephraim could remain one color. It's impossible. But I know people had this argument, but it's something that you're going to have to get past. One phenotype, one appearance, right? One genetic profile, one look. It's impossible. It is biologically impossible and historically impossible. It just can't be done. It's impossible. You can look around your neighborhood now. I know where I'm at. It's a lot of interracial marriages, right? And then over, you give it, a brother was giving me an example saying, well, their parents was white and then they started dating black people, and now they're black. Okay, but that has not been uh, hundreds of migrants, thousands of intermarriages. Yeah, you just talking about maybe 40 years, 50 years, maybe one or two generations, something like that. We're not talking about 2,700 years of mixing, man. It's impossible. Why Ephraim cannot be one appearance today? Ephraim was scattered into many nations, Hosea 7 and 8, mixed among the peoples. Mixed mean mixed up. Those nations had different appearances: Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, African, European, Asian. Intermarriage was guaranteed. Assyria forced it. Persia encouraged it. Rome normalized it. Migration multiplies diversity, trade routes, war, slavery, dysphoria, right? Dispersions and conversions. 2,700 years equals 108 generations. We're not talking about two generations here. We're talking about 108 generations. No group stays genetically isolated for 108 generations and stays looking the same. I'm sorry. Scripture never ties tribes to skin color. Identity is covenantal, not racial. That's what God's looking at. He's looking at, are you in covenant with him? Not about, it doesn't matter about what you look like. That can't save you. This is why the Mashiach came and changed the whole game. Right? He came. So you have to keep his commandments if you want to, not because Israel, remember, you was broken off. Right? Branches was broke off, getting ready to get thrown in the fire. Right? The Mashiach came to bind you back to the root. So if you don't want the root, you get no nourishment and you're gonna shrivel up and become worthless. You ain't gonna bud like a flower does. You ain't gonna produce no fruit, which means you're only good for one thing, to be thrown in the fire. Seven, modern racial categories did not exist in biblical times. They are recent, 1400s to the 1800s. Euro elites invented colors. Probably could even be the little hats, like my man called them, the Revelation 2 9s that did this. All right, because remember they mixed right in with J-Van. They mixed right in with them, so it's hard to tell them as well. Right? Then they change their name. The little hats change their name. You don't even know. You don't even know what he is. Tell you. Ephraim's prophecy is about mixing, not purity. Hosea 7 and 8 literally says Ephraim is mixed. So suck it up. Look at it. If you don't like it, there's nothing you can do about it because it's happening. The house of Israel, the northern kingdom, never returned as a nation before the time of Christ. As a nation, they came back in pockets. Individual families and scattered remnants returned over the century. But the nation that Assyria took in 722 BC did not come back. Israel conquered Samaria. I'm sorry, Assyria conquered Samaria, the 10 northern tribes, deported them into Assyria, Halah, Habor, Gozan, and Midia. Assyria did not allow the northern kingdom to return. They scattered them across the empire. So they was scattered. The Ruach was bringing them back, right? Bringing them back, putting in their mind to come back to Jerusalem. He didn't, and then the thing is, only some individuals returned over the century. But individuals from the northern tribes were present and got swept up into Roman destruction. Where's the proof? Anna, the prophetess. Luke. She was from Luke 2 and 36. She was from the tribe of Asher, a northern tribe. Point blank. Some Galileans. Galilee had mixed northern tribe ancestry. This is why, how the Mashiach started his ministry around these places, around where the fish was at. Some families returned during Persian rule. Some joined Judah. They became part of the Jews by the time of Christ, but not the whole nation as a whole. Only Mashiach can do that. And we know that. That's why the little hat people that's in Jerusalem cannot be. Can't be no, they ain't nobody, but you gotta, without history. See, that's the other problem. We just go to church and then we study our little New Testament and then, we go home. And we might read a little something during the week, but that's about it. But we don't do any history. And this Bible is a history book, and you can match it up with clearly match it up with history. And so you have to find the history along with the script to find out the news that you got to find out or that you want to find out. You got to be a detective when it comes to these scriptures. That's how you got to look at this thing. You ever watch the first 48, how they had to piece everything together to get to the truth? This is the same thing. Because so many little hands have been involved in trying to keep you from doing the detective work, right? Northern tribe remnants, not the whole house of Israel, but individual families from Asher, Naphtali, and Zebulun, right? Issachar, right? Ephraim, Manasseh. The strangers have devoured his strength. Strangers equals foreign powers, foreign gods, foreign cultures. Israel kept running to Assyria, Egypt, Baal, political. They were dealing with their Elohim, Baal, political alliances, marriages, and for protection and paying tributes and all this, and foreign worship patterns. Every time they copied a foreign model, they lost a piece of themselves. Devoured his strength equals his identity, his distinction, his covenant power. The very thing that made Israel Israel was being eaten away. So gray hairs are here and there upon him, yet he knows it not. Gray hairs equal signs of decay, aging, decline, warning indicators, right? And that goes along with us. We start getting all this gray on us. We can't keep living the same way. We can't keep that same mindset. The things that you was doing when you was 20 years old, the way you was thinking and the way you was living, because the gray hairs is indicators that you're getting ready to leave up out of here. Yet he knows it not. He don't even realize he's an old man. His mind still thinks he's 20 years old, and his actions and his speech and his thoughts reflect that. The decline is happening quietly. The identity loss is happening subtly. The covenant erosion is happening gradually. The people don't even realize they're dying spiritually. Right? Gray hairs equals the slow creeping consequences of unfaithfulness. You're getting weaker, older, more compromised, and you don't even see it. So Israel is swallowed up now. They are among the nations, or amongst the Gentiles, like a vessel in which is no pleasure. So we see what this means. I mean, I use this as an example. Here, you want to drink you some good old wine. You know what I mean? You go to the place to fill up your skin, and then you find your skin got a hole in it. You can't even, it's no pleasure in it. You might as throw that in the garbage. Now I done lost what I wanted. It's all over the ground. Real simple. Hosea 8, Israel is swallowed up. They have hired lovers, right? Because they was always in trouble, always needed somebody to protect them, always paying tribute, erosion, collapse, hired lovers, foreign nations. They paid for protection. Israel literally paid Assyria to be their ally. That's why the prophet says you become like a wild donkey, alone by itself. A donkey in heat, running wildly, desperately, without discernment. The chosen nation becomes the beggar. The covenant son becomes the customer, right? The royal priesthood becomes the prostitute. And the strangers, they ran to end up swallowing them whole. So, Hosea 7, Ephraim has mixed himself amongst the people. If Ephraim is a cake not turned. Two images mixed amongst the nations, scattered, blended, diluted. Cake not turned equals half-baked, unfinished, incomplete identity. This is Northern Kingdom prophecy, not for Judah. If Ephraim was scattered into dozens of nations, he cannot be identified by one modern racial appearance. I got to keep saying this, unfortunately, because so many of us especially when we first started this thing, when we found out that there was some Hebrews that could be black. Oh my goodness! After that, because we never had nothing, everything was always taken from us, right? We always had a hard time again because we would not obey our Elohim. We finally get something that's some good news. You know what I'm saying? And so we just took it to the extreme, and then we had teachers that just taught us that, all Israel is black. And then like you have some teachers like that say the all Israel is white. And that's the problem. That's an idol in your mind that is historically accurate and biblically grounded and does not stereotype or diminish any group. We can't live like that. Y'all's not pleased with that. It simply states tribal identity does not equal racial identity. Tribal identity equals covenant plus lineage and plus history. That's why we got to search this thing this way. Ephraim mixed amongst the nations, so he looks like the nations. He acts like the nations. He dresses like the nations. He eats like the nations. He worships like the nations. You cannot scatter for 2,700 years and stay one color. It's impossible. Tribal identity is covenantal. The two houses fought over worship. Proselytes joined Israel. Ephraim blended into the nation. The Bible never assigns tribe to modern racial categories. It just doesn't do that. Even though we've been taught that whatever side of the fence we on, it doesn't work like that. God's looking at you for your conduct. So let's look at this person, Eldad, because I had to put this in to ease and soothe some pain. Eldad Hadani was a 9th century Israelite traveler who claimed to be come from a lost Israelite tribe of Dan. Okay. Living somewhere in East Africa, his stories mix real geography with legendary material, and medieval rabbis debated whether he was truthful, mistaken, or myth making. So we know when it says the medieval rabbis, this is talking about some of them going to be Sephardic, and some of them going to be part Idumean. In other words, these are, uh, I guess you could say, proselytes, and or just dealing with an ism. Anything with an ism on the end of it. I got to watch what I say. Traveled through North Africa, Babylonia, Spain, and Italy. Okay, so we know coming through North Africa, Babylonia, Spain, right, and Italy. So we already know what they look like. Claimed to come from an Israelite kingdom in East Africa. Said his people descended from the tribe of Dan. Told stories of lost tribes living beyond the rivers of Cush. Okay, we know beyond the rivers of Cush, right, the land of Ethiopia. He appears in rabbinic correspondence and travel records. So we see that the little hats was already writing about, so they know about this man as well. Now, he spoke Hebrew only. Medieval accounts say Eldad spoke a strange but ancient Hebrew dialect. Okay, well, how is that so? It's strange to those that don't speak that ancient Hebrew dialect, but this brother did. Refused to speak any other language. Claimed his entire community spoke Hebrew. This is one reason rabbis didn't know what to do with him. He spoke the ancient tongue, and they did not. They spoke a mixed diaspora Hebrew influenced by Aramaic, Arabic, and later Slavic language. Khazar region, Eastern Europe, while Eldad spoke a strange, archaic Hebrew they did not recognize. How can they recognize it when it's two different people? One is saying he is, and the other is saying he is. But we starting to see there's a difference. And as we start searching through history, you have to understand these words like Slavic, Eastern European, Khazar. But if you've never been taught this, it goes right over your head. He followed the law of Moses. Eldad's doctrine was Torah-based, pre-Talmudic. So before these traditions and the Halakha, before all that, non-rabbinic. And the little hats he don't have nothing to do with no little hats. Strict and ancient. The rabbis never said your laws aren't Torah because they could not. They know he had the truth. They said your laws aren't our halakha, our traditions, our oral traditions, basically, because that's what they got a hold of after the Pharisees was able to, after 70 AD, Pharisees was able to go free and do whatever they wanted to do. They started writing all these traditions and everything back down, and they kept passing up, and then the little hats got their hand on it and ran with it. So remember, halakha means practice, the way of the walk, Jewish law. All right. Some of the 10 tribes were in Negro land, Songhai and Karun or Kyrene. Eldad said the tribes lived beyond the rivers of Cush and Negro land, a medieval term for West Africa, near the Songhai Empire region, near Kyrene, Tunisia. I hope I'm saying that right. In areas associated with the Zad dynasty, these were real African power centers. Songhai Empire, West Africa, Niger River. Zad dynasty, early rulers of Gael. Kyrene, major North African Little Hat Scholarship Center, Talmud learner. So we see, and that's another thing. If you want to really find out where these lost tribes is at, really all you got to do is find out where they had the Little Hat Scholarship Centers, or where the Talmud learning, or the Talmud centers, or the Mishnah centers. You got to see where that's set up at, because they always seem to find their way around true Israel every time, and they always doing oppressing them. It's always something. Or sometimes they don't. They just come in like the when they had when I was a kid during the Martin Luther King, when they had the different marches. The little hats was right there in the middle of that. NAACP. The little hats and came up with that. Black Lives Matter. The little hats invented that and financed all these things. So we have to understand this. So Eldad wasn't talking fantasy. He was describing real African geography. Eldad's claims overlap with Gale's early Jewish Islamic contact trade routes connecting North Africa to West Africa, regions where Hebrew manuscripts circulated. This is why historians don't dismiss Eldad's geography. It matches real African history. The highest rabbinic authority of the era accepted parts of Eldad's Halakha. Because remember, why I say parts of Eldad's Halakha is because again, they know about the Torah, right? They know about the ancient tongue, but they don't. They on something totally different because they all into their own doctrine, which is the Mishnah Talmud type of deal, oral tradition. This is what they go by, right? And we can see that today because if they followed the Torah, just Torah, and they would be a different type of people, and a lot of things they wouldn't be doing as we speak right now. So, Yehudi in the sense of ancient Torah keepers, rabbinic Jews, many Sephardic, right? Magharibi, were part of rabbinic Judaism, which descended from the little hats, right? Pharisees, the Mishnah, the Talmud, right? Geonic academies. So that's these are the key things. When you see these type of words, then you already know who it's pointing to. And then there's something else you got to look at too. You'll start to notice when you go through these history, you'll start seeing they used to set up these they call them like trading companies. And you know, they did different things at these trading companies. There's one that was in China where a family ran China for like 100 years, and all they was doing was selling dope, bringing dope. They even had they made special cutter ships that was so fast so that they could transport the drugs, and they was oppressing the Chinese for a long time until the emperor burnt down all the stash houses that they had, and then that's when Britain stepped in, and Japan came. In other words, everybody they just burnt the place down and took over. But this is the type when you look at these trading companies and or something like these academies, rabbinic academies, excuse me, that's going to tell you who it's talking about. So you have the rabbinic little hats, many Sephardic. Group A, open Sephardic. They was merchants, right? Because they sold commodities, they sold us, they sold drugs, they did a lot of different things, right? It was then they became wealthy. At one time, the slave owners all over the world, or just I'll just say just in America, the plantation elite, right? Because we've been told that it was see, and again, that's the mind control. We've been thinking, oh, that's it's white people that did. No, no, no. It's these people. These were the money people. These were the people that financed Christopher Columbus when he first started his journey to come find us, right? Because they knew about us and they knew where we were at. See? So they financed all these things with Queen Isabella. So you got to understand that. So we thinking that again, it's white people that no, it was these people that owned the plantation. The white man was just the overseer, right? And if you ever look at 12 Years a Slave, you'll see that, right? You'll see it. What happened when it was a ruckus? The white guy came up on a horse. What is wrong? What is the matter here? Okay, but he was sent to do that because the master wasn't going through all that because it was these people. But they just this was there. I gotta give it to them. They're ingenious. So they were wealthy. They were connected. At one time, they had more money than the United States, and they lived in they are both in the United States. But it's like they got their own economy inside the United States. Is what I'm trying to say. International. So they've been all over the place. Like again, if you want to find the lost tribes, follow them. Protected under Dutch rule because they was paying kings, Catholic Church. When they started this venture with the Portuguese and the Dutch, and the people was getting mad because they had a monopoly on it. So even the Catholic Church was upset about it. So what did they say? Did they say, well, this is ungodly and you should know? They didn't say that. They wanted a cut. As long as they gave them a cut, they were fine. Ran trade networks in human flesh and drugs and sugar. That's one of the biggest things, sugars and tobacco, these type of things, and cotton. That's what made them giants. Built synagogues all over the place because that's how it's kind of like the United States does with embassies. They do that so they can watch what's going on in each area. Practice Judaism openly, right? Because they didn't have to. Well, what you had Yahudi, or you had the people that were Israel. You had them. They made them convert, burned them at a stake, hung them, snatched them away from their families if they did not take convert to Christianity. They didn't do that to these people because they was the money people. In history, remember these groups were when reading. Remember when freedom and money or scholars are mentioned, it's talking about these people right here. What it is. So Yahudim in the sense of, I like to say Yahudi in the sense of ancient Torah keepers. Later in Spain, they will become Group B, new Christians, conversos. That's what they call them because they were trying to convert them to Christianity by force, forced converts lived under Portuguese suspicion. They was always watching to see if they was keeping the Sabbath or what they knew when the feast days was. They were busting your house to see if you was keeping the feast. If you was getting arrested. It was just that simple. Your neighbor didn't really like you, so he was watching you too. The same thing is getting ready to happen here and shortly. You know what I mean? You've been running around here telling folks about this, and when the time come and they hungry and they giving out extra credits for to turn you in, you gone. Might even be your own kinfolk that do it to you. Monitored by the Inquisition, legally restricted, socially marginalized. And it keeps happening. See, this is one of the other ways you can find Israel as well as these curses and the way that they get treated. Both groups were called Jews in documents, but they were not the same people. I said a lot to say this. And when oppression, forced conversion, scattering, or killing by sword or fire is mentioned, this is what you need to think about. And it has not changed until this day. It has not changed until this day. All you got to do is follow the curses. You're going to find Israel every time. That's why I don't worry about what they look like. The curses going to tell me who they are. Songhai gave the trade routes, Cameroon, gave the Torah academies, Sephardic merchants ran the network. It's just that simple. And Eldad Hadani walked in from an older African Torah tradition the rabbis couldn't control. Multiple medieval Jewish, Islamic, and African traditions placed some of the 10 tribes in Africa. So they know this, especially in regions around Ethiopia, Sudan, the Niger Bend, Songhai, and the North Africa, and Timbuktu, where they had all this great library for, recording all these books and things, philosophies, and all kind of stuff for centuries, and they burnt that down. Eldad Hadani is the earliest detailed source, but he wasn't the only one. Medieval Islamic scholars wrote about uh, Jewish communities in Sahara. See, so again, they're here. The little hats is here. Hebrew-speaking traders, Israelites near the Niger River, Jewish groups in Ethiopia and Sudan. And they use this ish thing here, and it could be confusion. So you have to go when you see this, you have to go read as much as you can about Ethiopia and Sudan and what groups were there. You're gonna see two different groups there, but they both called Jews. I promise you. Early Muslims prayed. So before Islam came, you had the little hats was there, and you had the Yahudi was there. Both of them was there, right? And they used to teach, and the people would come and learn from them. So early Muslims prayed toward Jerusalem and followed Sabbath-like practices, right? They understood everything, right? The Qibla, or the prayer, changed because the Hebrew tribes in Medina rejected Muhammad's prophethood. So they didn't want nothing to do with that. He was trying to convert them because he wanted to be a prophet so bad. And he was like, no. So he broke political alliances and refused to join his community. After that break, Islam established its own independent identity, and the direction of prayer shifted from Jerusalem to Medina. To Mecca, I'm sorry. They were Arabian, Hijazi Jews, the ones in Medina. These are the ones Muhammad interacted with. Living in Arabia centuries before Islam, speaking Arabic, because again, you got to remember, they scattered all over the place. We scattered everywhere. Practicing Torah, farming, trading, teaching, part of local tribal life, connected to ancient migrations from the Levant and Babylon. It's just all there. They were Hijazi Jews, not Sephardic, not these people. But these people was there because they, trust me, I guarantee they had some type of synagogue or some type of trading center or some type of trading company, or they had something here. That's what they do. If you want to find, I keep saying, if you want to find Israel, follow see where they moved around at. And there's plenty of books out here. It's not hidden. It's just hidden from those that's too lazy to try to find out. So this is the group that prayed toward Jerusalem, taught Torah, debated Muhammad, influenced early Islamic practices, lived in Medina and Kayabar. Recap. Hebrew elders taught in Medina. Early Muslims learned from Hebrew teachers. Quranic stories reflect Hebrew oral tradition because they got Moses, they got Mashiach in it, and they call him Isa. And I know this because I used to be one of these until I really realized how they felt about me, and I really realized it just didn't make a few things. I'm not gonna go into that right now, but I tried this for about a year. I was all into it, and then I started seeing something. The spirit wouldn't leave me alone. I knew something was wrong, right? And they basically was treating me like, "What are you doing? You're supposed to be doing this. You're not supposed to be doing this." Islamic law reflects halakhic influence or halakha influence. Rituals reflect Hebrew practice. They do. Early Islamic prayed toward Jerusalem. I've seen everything I'm reading it. I got a Quran here now. Then they'll say, well, the Quran is the pure word. Okay, but you got two different versions. One is the Ali version. That's what I got here, and it's another one. But that's been so many years ago. Early Islam expected Hebrew confirmation, okay, because they knew that we knew the true Elohim of the universe. It was a pride and political thing that caused Muhammad to go another way. He wanted to be a prophet that bad. The land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali. So we're going to stop right here. And I don't want to overwhelm y'all. And then we're just going to go ahead and pick it up from here the next time. All right. With that being said, shalom, shalom.